A lot of people see a stock going up, going up, going up, and they're like, oh, let me go ahead and get in on this. So Warren Buffett, one of the greatest value investors, has a very famous quote that I want to share with you in this video. And this quote, when it comes to value investing, has helped make me a little bit of money just over the last month. Before I share the quote with you, I want to share exactly what value investing is in case you're like, I don't understand that. Well, value investing, it's basically where you're buying assets. So maybe you're investing in stock. I mean, it could be real estate too. This is a principle, this is a concept, but you're buying an asset that is undervalued. That means that you look at this thing and you say, hey, I think that this thing is actually worth more than what everybody else thinks right now. And so it's worth more than what it's actually priced at. So because of that, I want to buy this asset and hold on to it for the long term. This is value investing. So if you're doing day trading of stocks or something like that, or you're trying to like flip houses or properties like really quickly to get large influxes of cash, this principle is not going to work for you. So don't try to apply it if you're doing those things. But if you're trying to just buy stocks to hold on to them long term to secure retirement, or maybe buy some properties, this will definitely help. So Warren says to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy when others are fearful. And I think this is really smart, like long term. This is kind of contrarian to what a lot of people do. A lot of people see a stock going up, going up, going up, and they're like, oh, let me go ahead and get in on this. And I've done this myself. Like, I think like I've bought Bitcoin and I've bought other things, like when everyone's like, you see all the memes about it because it's doing really well. So people are making content and videos about it. And you're like, oh, Bitcoin's at 100,000. Let me go ahead and buy some of that right now. And the reason why you don't want to do it at that point is because other people are being greedy. They see that the value is going up, and then they're having the same thoughts that you are. And so then they purchase it, and then that makes the value of it go up even more. When really, if it's overvalued, that price is going to correct, and it's going to come back down to what the real value is eventually. And so every time I've done this, I've lost money. And so this is why when others are being greedy, you want to be fearful. And by being fearful, it means like maybe don't react, maybe don't buy that thing. It doesn't mean panic sell all your stuff. It just means hold the line. Hold the line and wait. Now, when others are being fearful, like they're selling stuff, you see this is what's going on in the market right now. There's all this stuff. There's all this stuff coming out with like the Trump administration, and they're imposing tariffs, and then they're not imposing tariffs. And there's a lot of volatility in the market. And volatility just means things can go up really quickly or they can go down really quickly. It just means that growth or loss isn't very steady. It's just drastic jumps. So there's a lot of volatility in the market right now. And because of that, investors are fearful. People are holding on to things. They're like, hey, I just want to wait and see, or I want to sell my stuff off. I don't want to be involved. That's the perfect time to invest in things, to look for assets that are undervalued. Because when people are being fearful, the prices for things go down. And if you really understand the asset, you can see like this thing is actually more valuable than what most people think that it is. So let me go ahead and buy some of that. That's the smart move. And I'm not telling you what to invest in or what not to invest in. I'm not a financial advisor. If you want somebody to tell you exactly what to invest in, I encourage you to go seek out a financial advisor, and they can do that for you. We're just talking about this principle here. And so I did this with a certain stock. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to contribute to the up and down of the stock. But I saw this stock that was massively overvalued a couple years ago. And because of news articles and things going out about what the company's doing. And then the stock dropped like 90% between 2023 and right now. But I did the research and I was looking at what the company is doing, what their plan is, and I was also looking at like their public financial statements and seeing like, okay, well, what they're building is they are building assets. that are going to create revenue and profit in the future. And that's what they've been doing. And a lot of people have been selling the stock, and the price has been going down because they're selling it because they're not profitable yet. But I remember a certain company did this exact same thing that you may know of. I'm comparing what this company that I invested in lately, I'm comparing that to another company right now. So this other company, for 20 years, they didn't turn a profit. For 20 years, they were a public company, and you know what company this is. I'll share it with you in just a second. But they didn't turn a profit for 20 years. That means for 20 years, they had to keep getting outside investor money. They had to keep getting an influx of capital to keep the operations going. But those operations, what they were doing is they were buying assets, and these assets were things like land. They were building warehouses. They were buying trucks. They were buying, creating distribution systems and networks, so they didn't have to rely on other companies' distribution systems. And this means that they were able to distribute their products for what they were doing at a much cheaper rate per product because they took the time to invest a ton of capital into this. And because they were investing all this capital, they weren't profitable for like 20 years. And people, stockbrokers, and people who just spend all their time on Wall Street literally called this company a scam. They're like, this is a scam. And their stock price was like under $1 for a very long time because of this. And now, because they built all that stuff so that they can have profits long term later, they're one of the most profitable companies on the planet. You might have heard of them. It's a little company, little small company known as Amazon. So for a long time, everybody thought Amazon was a joke because they were just looking at the price of the stock. They were massively undervalued. And so I see potentially a trend like this going on with another company. And it's funny because I see this right as everybody's scared, right? And so I was like, okay, when others are fearful, that's when you make moves and you do stuff. And so I put a little bit of money into this company, not a lot, enough where it's like if it totally just evaporated, I would be totally okay with it. And I woke up today delighted to see that I made, a 20% return so far just on that, right? And I'm just keeping it there. I'm holding it there because I'm not in it for the short-term gains that come in a day like that, because chances are tomorrow I can see a 20% loss and it just goes back down because the market is volatile right now. But I put that money into that company because I see what their vision is and what they're building long-term. And I put that in there so I can see what that money turns into in 10 years, in 20 years, when the company is actually profitable, because it's not right now. And so we want to be greedy when others are fearful. And the safest way to do that is by investing in something like an index fund or bonds and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm not here to tell you what to invest in. The same principle, though, of being greedy when others are fearful, we can use this when investing in real estate. The conditions are never going to be perfect. I know, and I say that because as soon as I heard myself say investing in real estate, I thought, oh, but the interest rate and housing prices and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, all that stuff is going up. I think that all that stuff is going up because the value of the dollar is going down. So the value of the dollar is going down because of inflation, the stuff that, the Fed cutting rates, all that stuff. That's going to drive the value of the dollar down, which means that housing prices seem to be going up. Even if the housing prices are actually staying the same, the value of the dollar goes down. That means that the price of the house goes up. You have to pay more dollars to get the same value of house. And so that might be a market that's hard to break into because you need to have some cash reserves, right? So something that I'm doing for that, because I'm not in real estate yet, is I'm putting a lot of my savings and investing budget. About half of it just goes into a high yield savings account. It's a cash account. It's going into a cash account, but it's still gaining interest. It's not like 10% like S&P 500, right? But it's 4% and it's guaranteed. FDIC insured bank. As long as I don't have more than 250K in there, it's like you get your money. And the only way that you wouldn't is if the entire government collapses, and we got bigger problems than that if that goes on, right? And so I put half of my cash there, and then the other half I have towards investing in really secure things, secure stocks, and then other stocks, and a small percentage of the stock portfolio goes into speculation, like what I just talked about, where it's like I think this will be a cool play, but if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to be homeless because of it. And I'm just kind of spitballing here and sharing some of the things that I'm doing based off of this quote, based off of this principle. And one of the reasons I put so much into a high yield savings account right now is because I like to have a cash reserve so that I can be greedy when others are fearful. I want to be able to gobble up some assets when there's a lot of fear in the market. You can't do that if you don't have capital, right? You can't go put a bunch of that in stock, or go buy some houses, or go buy an apartment complex if you don't have some money to put down. Yeah, there's ways to do it. You can get into like wholesaling real estate, getting properties under contract, and then when somebody else buys it, then you get an influx of cash. But that's not what this video is about. This video is not about how to make an influx of cash quickly. This is about how to make your money and your time work for you long term, because that's what I'm more interested in. And so hopefully this was helpful for you. Let me know down below. Have you heard of this quote before? It's a really popular Warren Buffett quote. And if you have you been doing anything with it? I want to hear some of your guys' stories of times that you were greedy when others were fearful, and times that you were fearful when others were greedy and it worked out. And maybe you're like me and you've done the opposite, right? And you've kind of followed along with the bandwagon and it didn't work out. Let me know. Share those in the comments too. I think that will be super helpful for anybody, not just me, for anybody who's watching this that's interested in investing or even getting started in investing. They can kind of serve as a cautionary tale of what to not do for anybody just getting started. But that's it for the video. If you want some more financial videos, there's a ton of them on the channel. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.